Hello folks, I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily TA Wrap, where we take a look at these markets each day from a neoclassical perspective, asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about tomorrow. I do the show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, here from the base of the Rocky Mountains. Folks, I'm glad you could join me today, live as it is. Let's get started here. So what did we do today? We did a bunch of inside days pretty much across the board. Slightly down on the indexes, nothing major, you know, anywhere from a 0.05 to about 0.17. So pretty much inside days. Gold edged up a little bit more today. It's down a little bit after hours. Commodities in general were down today. Dollar also down a little bit today. So you know, it's something else, because you talk about sticky, and you know, this market is about as sticky as it gets. It doesn't want to give anything back whatsoever, yet it's already shown that it wasn't able to get over the highs and really get anything going. So you know, if I look at the S&P, you know, it looks the same. Inside day, a little doji. You tried to break out yesterday, couldn't break out. Now you're inside day, volume shrinks, you're just hanging. And that's going to look the same no matter where we look. I mean, if we look at the Nasdaq composite, which is stronger and up over the highs, inside day, right? If you look at the Russell, right, which is trying to get to the highs, inside day. It's the same everywhere. There's really no difference out here. This doesn't change anything from what we saw yesterday. We got resistance overhead. If it breaks out, you know, it can carry. But it's already come a long way. And it looks more likely that, you know, there's the probability of some sort of a shakeout here versus just another skyrocket up. But this is a bull market. And until the bull market dies, you know, it's still alive. And right now it's still alive, and there's really nothing different there from my perspective. I don't see anything here to tell me anything's different. So let's, you know, I still have the idea that this thing's going to try to come in, shake some people out. But then again, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it in a big way. You know, it may or may not do it. It may just go right back up and test those tops, because it did leave volume at the tops. Sector-wise, yesterday we saw failure here. We got a pullback. That's kind of what we expected. The semiconductors also had a failure. We expected some sort of a pullback. That's what we got. Volume expands, coming back into a swing point high here. Has volume. That one should test more. XLB was actually strong today. I see a question here about Monsanto as I was coming on. So XLB was up today, not that much, just a little bit. Just kind of hanging at the highs, wanting to try to break out. The energy sector, that one looked to me like it was going to try to come back in some today, and it didn't really come back in much at all. The XLB, XLE were kind of the stronger ones. XLF looked like it would try to come back in. It looked like a failure yesterday, and that's exactly what it did. So they all did what they did and what we would expect them to do, right? There was just a couple that didn't, like the XLY, for example. That one looked like a failure yesterday, but yet it went up today. But most of them did what they should have done. It's just that they didn't hardly give anything up, and when you look at the indexes themselves, they gave up almost nothing. And if we look at the Nasdaq, I'm going to pop over here, because if you look at some of these high flyers, these things are, you know, the money's pouring into them. You get an upgrade a day, a doubling in price on the upgrade. Tesla up 14%, 30 bucks. Google won't stop. Same sort of thing, right? Not nearly as much. Same sort of thing though. Just climb, climb, climb. Priceline, right? These are big, large cap stocks, or becoming large cap stocks in the case of the Tesla, that just keep climbing. Priceline's another one. Netflix is another one. Large cap stock, big. Let me get the symbol in there right. Big gains again, right? Day after day after day. You know, yeah, maybe the whole market's not moving, and maybe you know, Apple can't move, You know, Microsoft can't move. You know, Apple's moving, it's moving down. Microsoft's just hanging. But that's not stopping the NDX. I mean, the NDX is hanging right up there at the tops, right? Right at the tops. And you got huge moves already. So there's big stocks, money keeps flowing into them. They're chasing them. You know, when you see that kind of action, usually that means you're going to get a pullback, right? When you see, you know, low value, you know, Chinese stocks running, or you see, you know, the things like that. I mean, usually you're going to get some pullback. I saw FSLR after the bell down 12%. You know, this one, you know, a month ago, it was more than a month ago, but a couple months ago, this thing broke down, looked like it was going to take TAN with it, which was the index, and the rest of the stocks kept going up. And then eventually this decides to go all the way back up, and then they report their earnings and they're going to be down here again. You know, it's just kind of amazing, because it's like the market, no matter what hits it, you know, they used to call Reagan the Teflon president. I mean, this thing is like, you know, super Teflon, because it doesn't matter. You get bad economic numbers. Most of the economic numbers have been bad. Market's still hanging at the top, trying to go over the tops. So is it going to pull back? Well, I don't know. It should. When is it going to pull back? It should do it here. If it doesn't, what does it mean? Well, if I go back and I pull up the S&P one more time, you can see here a breakout. If it sticks, a breakout's a big move, right? If it can actually get over these highs and break out, it's going to be a large move. There's an ABCD structure in place now. Runs from here to here, right? That is 17. What is that? 37 up to 47 roughly. That's a 100-point move. If this is the extent of the pullback, that's 1927 where this thing wants to go. That's no small move. You know, that's another 70 points on a breakout. So we're not talking small numbers. If this thing really does get moving, the move is going to be large, you know, in terms of price. So just realize, if this thing breaks out, it's not something to fight. Okay, I don't know if it's going to do it here. It does have all the writings on the wall here that this is eventually going to resolve the top side. NDX already has. It's narrow, but it has. Broader IXIC has. Russell, it's right there. The Russell's trying to do the same thing. So if we look at all the major clues, it just looks like it's a matter of time. And I'm trying to get the Russell up here while I'm talking. Looks like it's just a matter of time before this does resolve to the upside. But folks, what a run! You know, you'd think it'd take a little bit of a break, but then, you know, sometimes this market doesn't take a break. Let's go over and quickly let's look at the OX markets. I want to look at bonds and the dollar and see if there's anything there worth looking at. So, because this always pops up first on my screen, the DBA is the ag sector, and this thing's been on fire too, right? The commodities. These are huge moves. You know, when they get these things rolling, man, they roll. And the commodities have been on a roll. They continue to be on a roll. You know, is it because the dollar's, like, you know, falling out of bed? Well, not really. The dollar's just kind of sitting there. But it is planting season coming up here pretty soon, and commodities do typically make a run this time of year. So a lot of it's just seasonal moves. Dollar comes down, trying to break again. It tried once before, couldn't break. Tried to push higher today and gave it all up. It looks to me like dollar is going to try to weaken and test one more time. And the dollar has, of course, a direct effect on commodities, including gold. Gold, even though it has tried to fail multiple times, it keeps climbing higher. Higher again today, less volume, but over the highs, and it stayed over the highs. Silver, not the same story. Silver had the big push up. Today it was down, couldn't lift. If I, you know, as I came on here, I was looking at GDX, GDXJ. Gold stocks themselves can't lift anymore. They look like they're out of juice. So when I look at all these things, you know, gold looks like it should come back, but just like the market, gold doesn't want to come back. So you got these momentum moves that nobody wants to give up on, and they just keep hanging in there and keep trying to push them. That typically leads to just a, you know, out of the blue kind of boom, right? And these things get hit. If they do, it's probably going to set up a good buy again. If they don't, it makes it almost impossible to buy because they won't come in. You know, I mean, every time, you know, you need it to at least go sideways. I mean, you're kind of getting a sideways action right here, but you can't say that you're getting that here on the GS, you know, on the S&P 500. You know, you're just not getting any kind of sideways action. I mean, I guess you could call that sideways. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know. Maybe this is the new sideways. You know, we go up sideways instead of sideways. You know, who knows? All I know is the market's strong, doesn't want to give it up. We'll see if tomorrow's a different story. Inside days, you can't really tell what they're going to do off of those. Let me go over and see if there's anything in the world markets. China got hit last night. They still have their property problems that they're dealing with. They're trying to, you know, slow down the property speculation that's been going on over there, and they're having a difficult time doing that. And every time they try to do it, you know, the tools are fairly blunt, and that brings pressure on the general markets. So China was down 2%. Hong Kong wasn't off as bad. Hong Kong's still holding that big bar. Tonight will be kind of the, you know, do or die on this in terms of, you know, can it get, and it hasn't done, it's actually doing the retest, or it's about to do the retest regen, it looks like. What is that? 22,243. Oops, I need the, yeah, 22,243. Yeah, so it's not quite there. It hasn't done a retest regen off this bar yet. So that still looks like what it's going to try to do. The problem is it's going to do it with way too much volume. And let me see, 22,243, 22, yeah, so it still hasn't got there. Looks to me like it's going to try, and we'll see if it has the volume to push back down. It did go into here, do the retest, and regenerate lower. Now the question is can it regenerate higher off of this one? So right now you're essentially playing in this range, you know, trying to figure out which side is going to win, you know, the battle. Is it, you know, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be this retest regen, or is it going to be that one? That one's already done what it was supposed to. Now, can this one do something? If not, you know, you got some big volume down here, and this thing can push lower. So we'll, you know, China, Hong Kong, that's probably the toughest spot over in Asia. Let me see. So the Topics was up again last night, the Nikkei, and it's coming back in to do its retest, it looks like. And it already has. It's already done its retest regen. So it's just going to come back into these big bars. There's not a lot to stop this guy if he wants to run. Now the only thing I see here is that this is already done. It's already done the ABCD here, right? That's pretty much done. The larger one is also just looks like it's about done. So I don't know. That looks like that's going to have a hard time pushing up higher just based on projections. Let's see about Europe. Let me go to Europe. Actually, let's do Toronto for my friends up north. Let's see what it did, because it was trying to pull back, and yeah, it started to pull back, and that's what it should do. So those things are all doing what they should do. Let me see about Europe. So Europe, so this DAX, the numbers weren't bad out there, and they're still hanging up there at the top. That looks pretty much like us, doesn't it? The FTSE looked like it was about done last night. And, oh, wow. So it comes off with volume. Let me see. What is that high? 68, 65, 90, 68. Yeah, I got over it too. So it basically, yeah. So it left volume at the high here. So that's actually not as bad as it looks, and it could test again first thing tomorrow. So DAX can go higher still. FTSE can actually try to test again, And the CACs, what did the CACs do? And the CACs came off a little bit inside day, nothing there. So I don't see anything anywhere, honestly, to tell me anything more than I already knew, which is that we're stretched. The probability of some sort of shakeout, trying to shake out the longs a little bit, still looks quite possible to me. And there is, of course, the possibility that this thing just breaks and just goes on about its merry way and starts up that next 70-point move. So I definitely wouldn't be trying to short this market in a big way. At the same time, until it breaks out, it can still come back. So if you're going to add, it probably makes sense to give it a chance to prove itself, because the move up is going to be big and you don't have to try to rush into it before it starts and potentially, of course, get shaken out, right? That's the whole point. So let's I've got 2 or 3 questions here. Let me try to go to those. I had one emailed. Let me take it first. So let me go over to this watch list and let me see, what is it? ASTC. So ASTC is Astrotech Corporation. This looks like industrial goods, aerospace. And let me see, the question is it's nearing what looks to be decent volume support on the weekly. Okay, so let's see what the weekly looks like here. Here's the weekly. Yeah, this is not a bad looking zone here, is it? Now this thing had a huge run already. So we went from 61 cents to $3.61. So that's a pretty good move. Alright, so the big support is right there. And given how big the move was, and given that you have a swing point high over here and you've gone more than 6 bars on the breakout, and I believe that didn't get tested. That top was $1.74. Yeah, you didn't get back to it. So given all of those things, I'd try to be patient and see how far it pulled back, and will it pull back that far? My gosh, that's a long way though. Yeah, that's tough when they run this far, because even if you buy it here, right off of this support that you're in support right now, if you were to buy it up here, your odds of losing on the trade are pretty high unless you put your stops down here somewhere, and that's a long way to come back. So I'd almost try to make it trade down to here in order to try to take a position on it. Let me see what the daily looks like comparatively again. So there was volume on the push down. You left volume at the highs. That low is 181, which is also that low from the weekly. Yeah, so if I look at it on the weekly, yeah, it looks like you could even get it farther. There is a spot right here though that you could look at it. Now the issue here, of course, is this is going to break multiple swing points when it breaks, right? If it closes, actually it just closed under tonight. So that's let me see here. That's a low of 262, 270, 246. Yeah, you broke multiple swing points tonight. Yeah, let it come back. Let it come into this bar at least, which is 219, and then evaluate it there is the way I would look at that one. Okay, so let's see what kind of questions we got over here. I saw a bunch of questions on the boards. Let me pop over to those and see what we got. Alright, so what's up with Monsanto? Okay, so Monsanto comes down. This is the seed company. That sector was up today. It came down pretty hard yesterday, again today. I don't know, it looks bad. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it doesn't look very nice, does it? Okay, so you had a volume escalation off the highs, right? That's not good. That's never good. And now you got some follow through. I'm looking on the weekly now. I don't know. This is setting up an ABCD structure down. I mean, you've already got the first leg in. Now you got a decent bounce, and that looks like, another leg to take you down into this area, which is into this big bar. So I would think you're going to see this thing test down this far. I don't know what's wrong with it, but I can just tell you, looks to me like it's going to trade lower. And if you get a full extension, maybe a little overshot, you might get to the bottom of that bar and actually fill this gap. So I wouldn't be buying this thing. Not with the market as it is. Something's wrong here. I don't know what it is. So not something I would be interested in playing. Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. What about FXI? Will it come back down some more? Yeah, I think so. That's what we were talking about. So I kind of went over FXI when I went over Hong Kong a while ago. Hong Kong's looks a little bit stronger. I think you're going to come into the bottom of these bars, 33.95. Next question, TLT, and the question there is it time to buy some TBT around 70? So TBT is the opposite side of this guy. It's an inverse 1-to-1. I can't say. What I said last night, I'll just repeat it tonight, and that is that this is trading between here and here, and we don't know if it's going to break to this side or break to that side yet. Until it does one or the other, I probably wouldn't make a trade on it. So the answer is I don't know. It's not telling us anything yet. HY, what is HY? So HY materials. Okay, let's see what this guy is. So this is a material handling company, trucks and other vehicles. Oh, yeah. So I've seen multiples of these appear in our trading signals lately. And this one has a nice big shot going on. It's over 3 swing point highs on the daily, and I believe this one actually is firing on the weekly. Yeah, it is. So yeah, this is a nice looking chart, and it's got, range wise, it's got a nice big range here. Trading in it's really kind of two ranges. You got a big one there, and you got one inside of it, about that half, right? And so minimum, I would think that this thing is going to try to do as much as the bottom of this. So you roughly got 86 up to 98. So that's what, 13 or 12 points. So tack 12 onto it, it's 110. So 110 is where it looks like it wants to try to go. And you've already got your extension here. Did a retest regen. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good. I'd try to buy it into this bar, the Feb 20 bar. If the market pulls back, see, the hard part here is the market won't pull in. If the market pulls back, it's going to give some opportunities in stocks like this and many others out there to actually buy something. But when it hangs and just grinds higher, it makes it harder and harder to buy these kinds of stocks. This is a good looking stock. It's a good pick. And there are some others in that sector, in the truck and other vehicle sector, that are doing the same thing, which tells me that sector's finding a lot of good money right now. So yeah, I like it. Okay, so that was Federico. He's trading off the weekly. Yeah, it still looks good. So where would I expect a pullback to get to if it happens? Actually, I wrote an article today. You can pop in here and read it if you want. It really talks about it, shaking the trees. So I'll just pop into the article here. This is the area here. right? So this is where I would expect it to try to come back to. So it's using that, remember the big Fed bar? This was the big Fed bar from way back in December. I think that that would be a good target for it. That would make a fairly good ABCD structure on the way up, and it would give enough range in here to let this thing, you know, actually shake out some of the weak holders and put up a more reasonable ABCD structure to the upside. So that would be the price point. So you can pop in there and take a look at that if you want. Okay, so you know, what do we got here? We got a market that really doesn't want to give up anything. And even though that's the case, you have to be cognizant of the fact that this thing can pull back. And given the characteristics of how we've been pushing, right, and given the characteristics of that failure yesterday, which to me looked like nothing but short covering, which is talked about here. Matter of fact, if you pop into this article, folks, and take a look at it, you know, I kind of outline what it looked to me like is short covering. That suggests the new money wasn't willing to chase it at the highs. You know, there wasn't new money coming into it. That leg up over the high was really short covering. So, you know, given all those things, I think it's going to be hard to push this thing farther right now. Now, maybe they'll do it, and maybe they'll get back up there and fail again. I don't know, but it's going to be hard to get a sustained break here that can actually move you 70 more points without a break. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it probable? No, it's not probable. It's not. That's not a high probability case, right? The odds of just breaking out here without any kind of really good sideways action is pretty small. You know, breaking out and really carrying, right? That's a pretty small case. That's a hard case to make. And so, you know, if you want to be bullish, you want to see this thing, you know, spin its wheels down here for another few days at least, but hopefully another week or two. And then that would give you a much better shot to get this thing out the top and have follow through, right? That's what you need. And right now, it's a tough bet to buy that thing. You gotta let it break out if you're gonna buy it. All right, I gotta leave it at that. Looks like I'm almost out of time. I'll go back to John here. Let John play some music for us. John's a good friend of mine. I used to work with him a long time ago, back when I was doing engineering work. Happens to play a beautiful sax. Have a great night, folks. Take care. Good night.